I don't see.
Now we are. Now we're live.
All right. All right, we'll consider ourselves called to order for the July meeting of the Calvert City Planning Commission. The time is 5:31. And the first item of business will be the approval of the minutes from June 21 meeting. You have those in front of you. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I've read the minutes and I'd make a motion to approve them as written.
Gary makes a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Kathy seconds that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed by like sign? And that brings that up. Okay. John, for old business, consideration of parking requirements for the dormitory style group homes. You want to introduce us?
Okay, what we have is we agreed that the group home that Mr. O'Daniel had planned is going to be different than what normal group homes would be, because it would not be paired, but more dorm-like. And so that the parking requirements that we have currently would not be adequate. I have contacted a couple of planning commissions and communities that have colleges and have that information if you want it or need it. And I don't know if Mr. O'Daniel or Mr. Kearns were able to contact anybody with that about that or not, but I do have that information if not. So.
Well, do you have that with you right now? Could you just give us the synopsis of that?
I
think
sure
that's a
can.
good idea.
Murray sets 5 minimum and then 1 per bed. Bowling Green takes the opposite approach. In the western area, they use 1 per bed plus 10%. So if you got, in his case, if he had 27 beds, he'd have 3 additional. So he'd have to have 30 parking places. So it's based on occupancy plus 10% with one, and the other is just 5 parking places. And then whatever your occupancy is rated. And in looking at those, I think the utilizing a percentage like 10% is actually better, because if it's smaller, it doesn't need 5. And if it's larger, 5 won't be enough. So utilizing the percentage is probably a better way to go, depending on the size of the actual endeavor.
It seems to make sense to me too, that having a space per bed makes sense. And then for visitors that you may have, that's why you would want a percentage above that. That way there's, and I think even like in your case, you got family members coming in and whatever on the weekend and want to see and so forth. So that makes sense that there would be occasions where you'd have extra cars in there.
Mm-hmm.
And if other locations pick 10%, that must be a number that works for them. So it's something to try.
Seem to.
All right, and that wouldn't be unreasonable. Like the numbers we were talking before was 30, and so plus 10%, just 3 extra. So I mean, doesn't.
How does that differ from what we have right now for hotels? You got that in front of hotels? Yeah. Hotels.
Right now, group home dwellings are set at 1.5 parking places, just like any other residence. They're set at 1.5 per bedroom.
And motels are 1 per guest room or suite plus 2 per 3 employees. Tyler, you said there wasn't going to be any like events, parent events, or that kind of stuff's not happening.
Not there. No, we may have something at like the Civic Center or something like that where we allow families to come in, but no, there won't be anything like that at that venue. And I will also say that when I first presented it, the number was 30. And as things have progressed, I think we're going to be a lot happier around 24-ish. I don't think we'll get to 30 because we've got commuters and we've also got international kids. So like right now, we've got, I think, 4 countries represented, and they're not gonna be bringing cars from the country of Panama. And I anticipate that to kind of increase as we go. So I think, you know, the number that we had kind of talked about was probably 24. Based off of what, because I had actually talked to a lady in Murray as well, and that was what I got as well. So I was unable to talk to anybody in Bowling Green, but the one in Murray seemed to be very feasible. So with the 1 per bed and 5 additional spaces, but I think the 10% rule would work as well, so.
John, what was how did you characterize or classify this use? What did you call it? For purposes of the schedule,
For purposes,
not for parking, for
Yeah, for the general.
general, what's the classification? What was it we were calling it?
the use of the parking.
Use.
The use.
Well, the use is a group home. If you're utilizing it by the definition, it's more dormitory style, like you would see with frat houses, sorority houses, you know, private dorms with schools, that kind of thing. And that's where we went with this when we got to looking at the ratios. The fire marshal sets the maximum number of occupants, and then the 10% or 5 or something similar to that.
Does it,
Not the fire marshal, I'm sorry. Your code enforcement does that. That's through one of your building codes.
Yeah.
Standards.
does it make sense for us, rather than trying to create a new use, that we leave this group as a group home, consider a group home, but change our parking requirements for a group home? Because it would seem to me like that what we're talking about doing makes sense for any type of group home like that.
Mhm.
Because again, even if you had a group home that of a different type, you could have multiple beds in that home, and therefore 1 per room like we have now may not be the right formula to use. Does that make sense?
Yes, 1 per room. Well, I mean, you'd have to define bedroom.
Yeah, that's what,
You
and
know,
even
so-
then.
So
you
how
may
many
have-
bedrooms will Tyler have? Probably,
There's 9.
9. So that
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Well, that's what I say. That's what I mean, even for a group home. If we used our parking spaces by number of beds, then it covers the whole area, I think. And we're not trying to define and worry about how many beds are in a room. Because you could have multiple beds in a room. So,
So how do you, my question to that though is how are you gonna regulate a beds coming and going? I mean, you'd have to say you're gonna have 24 beds, right? Well, then what if now, we're gonna get 5 more? So
well,
we're now bringing 5 more
again, it would
beds.
go back to what the maximum occupancy is.
Okay.
That's what we'd have to use.
Okay,
We don't really care. I mean,
okay,
if Tyler has up to the maximum, well,
Right.
we would have to have parking for the
from the
maximum.
maximum.
Yeah.
Okay,
You'd have to be allowed for that.
Right.
From our standpoint,
sure.
because we wouldn't know how many people are in there at any one time.
I guess my only concern with just tagging group homes and the parking there is if your group home is not for driving age people. Or driving capable people. If you're dealing with a special needs group home or something on that order, then you wouldn't necessarily, maybe you still would need. Because then you get maybe more into potential family. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least we would at least need a wiggle room to be able to offer that.
Well, you don't have to amend the ordinance, even the parking section, because the way it's written, if you've got a different kind of a situation, then you come in, he presents, or the applicant presents, okay, this is what I'm doing. It's a little squirrely, a little different from everything else. And then when you just said it by, you just said it, you just by vote, you say, oh, in this case, this is what parking, this is how much parking is going to be required. Unless it's a repeatable, repeating category, then we've dealt with it simply by saying, if it doesn't fit in one of these major categories that we've already addressed, then just tell us what it is you're gonna do, and we'll tell you how many parking spaces you need. Find it real quick. There it is. Yeah, what we're dealing with is this language right here, all other uses not listed herein. That's at the end of the parking section. Then it just says, based on a study to be prepared by the owner or operator, the number of spaces to be required will be determined by the commission after considering A, the type of use and estimated number of trips generated during peak conditions, inbound and outbound, and B, estimated parking duration per vehicle trip, turnover rates, basically how much use you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so that's how you addressed it initially, was just said, okay, we're going to come up on uses that don't fall in one of these categories, and we'll just look at them.
Okay.
And you do look at them one at a
So
time.
we've got a wiggle space in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's built into this system.
What is that zone again?
It's called.
Meek.
It's
No, it's
called
B2.
dwelling.
Not
B2.
two. Now we're on zone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that was just.
The building itself is in, the building in particular is in B2. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so in this case, what do we need to do to put that in the verbiage? Is it just a motion we need to say?
Yeah, and
And for this particular case, we just need to address this particular case then?
yeah,
Okay,
that's all you have to do. You can do anything you want to do, but what you have to do is address this particular case under the circumstances, because this is the ordinance we're dealing with today.
okay.
And he doesn't yet have a conditional use permit. When he does, the Board of Adjustment will probably say, okay, this is my deal, the maximum of whatever, 24, 26, 30, whatever. And this is the, you'll present, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. So if you guys will then already have in place, okay, for this general kind of a use, then you need one parking
One
spot
place plus 10%.
for somebody plus 10%, or whatever it is that you
Yeah.
think is right. And then you don't have to worry about if you've got a group home with disabled people or children,
Right.
all that, because they'll do the same thing.
Right, because they'll have a conditional use as well.
I know the last time we met, Willie, with you and Tyler, y'all were gonna talk, what is the maximum occupancy of that building? What did we ever get a determination of what that is?
Yeah, we did, from Cat Spears.
Okay,
which is ultimately we ended up getting, so it's according to state building code, you're required to have 200 square foot per person. And so when you do the math out of that building, I think we're at like 26.7, so 27.
Okay.
Is what the maximum is. I mean, Tyler's actually got a drawing with dimensions, so don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Right, okay.
And how many parking spaces do you have?
29.
29.
As is, yeah. I mean, you guys can see this, or get a copy of it, however.
Make that part of your study.
So if you know what, if you come to a conclusion, if everybody's come to a conclusion, motion second. Vote, so.
Well, so what it looks to me like is that based on your maximum occupancy and based on what we're talking about, Well, and again, even if you say round that to 26, because it's hard to get 0.7 of a person in there.
Yeah.
So 26 and 2.6, and so even when we said that was 3, that's 29 places you would need. So we could, in what we're talking about, it sounds like what we're talking about and what you have, those jive pretty good. So I don't know if we're creating a hardship for anybody in what we're doing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I guess you could actually argue that you can't put a 0.6 person in that, and so the 27th person would not be allowed there. So 26 would be their maximum occupancy, and then they've got 3 more parking places for the 10%. That would still allow him the 29 parking places.
That's exactly right. That's what I was just saying. Yeah, that's the way I was doing the math too, John, because I mean, you're gonna have to round down when it comes to people, because they're not
I
going
guess
to
so, yeah.
3/10 of a person. So 26 people, and then even if you round it up then for the parking spaces, that makes it 3 spaces instead of 2.6. So you're at 29. So 26 and 3. 31. Yeah, so you got, I mean, we're all arriving at the same number that says that kind of math works out, I think.
So what's the Cat Spears guy's title? I'm working on my motion.
The county,
He's the code enforcement.
I think he's the county code
Yeah.
enforcement
Yeah.
under the county.
Tyler, is there ever a time? Is that place ever gonna be unloading and reloading? Y'all taking buses when you go to practice? or-
So they will travel via 15 passenger vans.
Okay,
So, yeah, I mean, the most loading and unloading that they would be doing is taking their bag out of their room and putting it in the.
but everybody's not gonna be trying to get out that on the Highway 62 all at the same time in their car.
Not a caravan.
They shouldn't do that at 7 or 4.
Yeah, they won't be able to, is the
Other than that.
problem. Yeah. Just will sit there.
All right, so I make a motion that based on the maximum occupancy for the property located at 78th and Ash Street, the postgraduate baseball academy operated by Tyler O'Daniel be allowed to have 1 parking space per occupant with a maximum occupancy of 26 as determined by the county code enforcement, plus 10% for visitor and non-resident parking, giving him a maximum occupancy of, or a required number of parking spaces of 29.
Got a motion to hear a second.
Yes.
Have a second by Ben. Is any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed by like sign? And the motion carries. Deal. So now, what the next step is, then they'll need to come before Board of Adjustment to get their conditional use permit.
Correct.
Thanks, guys.
Good.
Good luck.
So is it pretty exciting? Is it coming together?
Yeah,
Pretty
it
fun, huh?
is. Yeah, I'm extremely excited about it. I just think the interest has been overwhelming, really. And like to have multiple countries represented right here is gonna be an awesome thing. And we may get 2 kids from Australia. So, yeah, Australia, Panama, Dominican Republic, and maybe even Canada. So I don't know, we'll see. And then actually local kids too.
Are you aiming at certain skills, certain kinds of certain players, or?
Just guys that are wanting to play at the next level, regardless of level. It's not just like we're only pushing guys to Division I school like Murray. I mean, it's literally just people looking for an opportunity to go to any level, whether it's junior college, NAIA schools, just giving them, the opportunity that they didn't get originally out of high school. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys.
Tyler, if you will, contact me tomorrow. I'll be in the office. And we can get you started on your zoning compliance applications and your conditional use.
Thank you.
You're good, Tyler.
Thank you, guys.
Any other business, John?
I'm sorry, sir.
Do you have any other business?
I do not.
Anyone else? Your motion, we adjourn.
Make that motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Brad, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Gary, second by Gary, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Who's the second man?
Oh, I missed saying aye.
No, you missed it.
5:51.
Well, then that means you're a no vote. No, actually, it's just.